Hello everybody, Stuart from Supermachine here today to talk to you about Supermachine in general. In this video I'll be doing a comprehensive overview of the product. We'll go into how to create an image with AI, we'll go into text to image settings, image to image settings, all of the advanced settings, all of the different tools that you can use in Supermachine, as well as the different ControlNet methods. If you are interested in skipping ahead to a specific part of the video, they should all be timestamped, so please feel free to do so. This video will go over everything in quite a lot of detail, so I anticipate it will be quite long. Pull up a chair, get comfortable, and let's get into a comprehensive demo of Supermachine as an AI image generator. The Supermachine Dashboard is where you will end up after you have logged in. At the top of this page, you will see all of the different models that are available within Supermachine. You can categorize these by the filters by simply clicking at the top. So if I want to see all of the best anime models, then I can do so. I can also click the View All Models button to see all of the models that are available within Supermachine. If I want to then change the model that is active, all I need to do is click on one of these. And when I do that, you'll see that the outline changes. I can click and I can drag across all of the models here if I want to search between them like this also. This is also a great way to do it on mobile. Below the models, there is the prompt input box. This is where you will put the input of the AI image that you want to create. So for example, I could put cat sat on a mat here. I could put, Japanese 30-year-old male, and it would give me a output of that image. So this is the simplest and quickest way to create an image with Supermachine. On the right side, we have the different settings. So if I need assistance with creating my prompt, I can do so by hitting these buttons here. So when I do this, I'll be able to see different styles that I can add to my prompt. So if I wanted to add a specific emotion, I can come in, I can click on whatever I want, and it's going to add that directly to the prompt. So using the style assistance is a great way to get even more details into your prompt. We then also have a prompt book, which will show different images that have been created, and it will add all of these settings to the prompt when you do so. So for example, if I click on this delicious burger image, it's going to add this to the prompt, and then I would be able to simply hit generate, and it's going to create this image for me down below. The next thing that we have is we have the LORA settings, which will change how an image looks. So on the LORA settings, we have different things such as a weight slider, a happy slider, angry slider, curly hair slider, etc. We'll go over how to use LORAs directly in Supermachine in a little bit later. We also have the consistent characters. So consistent characters are characters that we have trained ourselves and are available for use within Supermachine. Again, we'll go over that in a little bit of time. The final thing that we have within this prompt console is the prompt assistance. So if I want to improve a prompt, so if I say cat sat on a mat, and I want to change this, I can do so with the help of artificial intelligence. So I can say, okay, I want it to have the beautiful lighting, and I want to enhance that prompt, and it's going to give me a better version of a cat sat on a mat. It's just going to give me a ton more details to work with. So this is really cool, and it's going to give me a better output. So again, I can hit generate just to see what that's going to look like. You'll see that the burger image from earlier generated, and that looks like a delicious burger if I say so myself. So this is the standard output that you're getting from Supermachine using these settings at the top here. We then have the advanced settings, which let you go into more detail. So we have negative prompt, we have seed number, guidance, steps, image, ratio, size, and much more. We'll go into these in a little bit more detail in a little while, but below this we have our outputs, and the outputs here are from the last couple of generation batches that you have used. So you'll see that we have this cat on the mat, which looks beautiful, and by clicking on this image you can see the prompt, you can see the negative prompt, you can see the model that was used, you can see the image ratio, you can see the seed, the sampler, the guidance, etc. And below this you'll see the different batches that we have. So this is really excellent for seeing your latest creations. But if we want to see all of our images, we can do so by going back to the top and hitting the albums button. So the albums button will show you all of your albums at the top here, and you'll see that I have different albums for different models that we were creating. And you'll also see that we have home, and anything that is not categorized in an album is in the home here. And if I want to move any of these images to an album, I can simply drag it and put it in an album like this, or I can click the button to add image to album and choose the album that I want to add it to. So we make this very simple from the album setting at the top to be able to choose the different places that you want the images to appear. The canvas setting allows you to either draw on a canvas, or allows you to take an image and add it directly to the canvas by clicking the canvas button. And from here I could then change the ears, I could change the tail, and so on to use this as part of our generation method. We then have the tool setting, which is where you can find some interesting tools that can be used for your AI image generation needs. We have a remove background, we have a face swap tool, we have an image to prompt tool, and we have an upscale tool. We'll go over these in a little while in more detail again. We then have a search function. So if you want to search for images to then find out a prompt that was used for specific images, then you can do this within the search functionality. And then again, we have the update toggle where you can see all of the latest updates that have been created within Supermachine. And then we have our profile where we can see certain things like our credits, we can see our subscription, we can go and see consistent characters in more detail, learn about the Chrome extension, about the API, etc., etc. So that is a brief overview of the Supermachine dashboard. Now let's get into generating images and see how we can do that by using basic settings and more advanced settings. So now we've gone over the dashboard and how everything looks in Supermachine, I thought it would be useful to just generate a few images and go through the process of how you can generate images with success in Supermachine. So first of all, let's just do something very simple. We are on our default settings, and I'm just going to put cheeseburger in the prompt box. And I'm just going to generate an image of a cheeseburger just like that. What I'm expecting is to get an output that looks okay, but I'm not expecting anything great because I haven't given it any details at all. And you can see here we have our cheeseburger image, but it looks kind of bad. And this is as expected, because we haven't given it any descriptive words, we haven't given it any focus on how we want this cheeseburger to look. So if I was to then change this to say a professional photo of a cheeseburger, and we hit generate now. And because we've told the AI that we want a professional photo, I'm expecting this image to look a bit better, and you'll see that it does. So from this image, you'll see that the burger is more centered. It's providing a lot more detail than it was before. So that's just how adding a little bit of detail onto the front of a prompt can affect the settings. So let's build this up a little bit more on a wooden block, cinematic lighting, full focus, zoomed out shot. So you'll notice what I'm doing here when I am adding these descriptions is I'm just sort of comma separating them. So everything that I want to add, I'm just saying cinematic lighting, full focus, zoomed out shot, and at the front we've got professional photo of a cheeseburger on a wooden block. So we can hit generate now, and I'm expecting this image to have even more detail and to look even better than before. So it's really interesting to sort of play around with AI image generation and just add different descriptive words each time to get different images. So you'll see here, we've got this awesome image of our cheeseburger on a wooden block. We have the cinematic lighting. You'll see the lighting on the bun looks really great. And we've got the full focus and a zoomed out shot. So this is super, super cool. But we can do more, and we can do more with the advanced settings. So if I want to change this even further, what I can do is I can change the image ratio. So if I want a portrait image, I can choose to do so. I can choose to have 4 outputs here. I can choose to up the step count and the creativity. And remember, when you are in Supermachine, if you don't understand what any of these settings are, we have a useful information tooltip that you can just hover over and see exactly what these settings are going to do. So by hovering over, you can get a better understanding of exactly what you are changing and the sampler that is being used. So let's just choose a different sampler here. I really like to use this DPM++ 2M Keras. I use it a lot. And we are going to keep these other settings the same. And we're going to hit generate on this and see what we get out for our 4 images that are now creating. So remember, we've gone from this rubbish image where we just put cheeseburger in as a prompt to a better image when we have put professional photo of a cheeseburger to a professional photo of a cheeseburger on a wooden block, which looks like this, to then getting our 4 images in this portrait view, which look really great. I really love the cheese oozing down on this one. And we have our different images of the cheeseburger. So this is how you can make AI image generation work for you, and how by tweaking and changing the different sampling settings of the image generation is going to help you create the best images possible. It's a bit of a trial and error approach, but as you change up your prompts and as you change up the settings, you start to get the hang of it very quickly, and you start to understand adding a word here and there, adding a comma separated term or a bunch of terms can really enhance your AI image generation. So this is a brief overview of the text to image capabilities. In the next section, we'll go over image to image capabilities to show you how exactly that works. With Supermachine, it's also possible to create images using an image to image generator. This is where you upload an image and you get a new image with that original image as a guideline. To do this from the Supermachine dashboard, simply go to this image to image section here and click upload. Once I have chosen an image, an example look at the image will appear below here. You'll see that this image is a 30-year-old Nigerian female, and I can then provide a prompt like I would do so with an ordinary text to image generation. So I will put in here a photo of a Nigerian female with blonde hair, and I can then change how this is going to look with the advanced settings. So because my original image is this portrait view, I want to make sure that that is the same here. I want to get 4 outputs of this image, and you'll notice there is a new setting here, which is strength. So hovering over the tooltip will tell me some information about the setting. This is all about how the image that we have put as our guideline influences the image generation and the output that is going to happen. It says that using a setting of 0.7 to 0.8 is generally a good place to start. If you want the original image to have a greater effect on the image output, you want to put the strength lower. If you want it to have a more free reign to generate what it wants to generate, you can put this higher. So if I put this 0.8 and I hit generate, let's see what happens. So you'll see when we have it as 0.8, it's created these new images with our Nigerian female with blonde hair. Now, it's important to note that when you use image-to-image generation, you're not going to get the same character out. So there might be slightly different features on the face or the way that the character looks. If you want to get a consistent character, you can do so with other tools that are available within Supermachine. I'll go over those in a little bit later in this video. For reference, if you want to skip ahead to those sections, look for the SuperClone section or the Faceswap section. For this specific output, you'll see that these are the types of images that we've got. We've got our Nigerian female with the blonde hair. If I was to set the strength a lot lower, so let's see what happens if we set the strength to say 0.3 and then we hit generate. So you can see by having the strength set to 0.3, the image hasn't actually changed much at all. Might be a little bit of a change in the lips, or there might be a strand of blonde hair here or there, but it hasn't changed it enough to really make a difference. So now I just want to play around, and again, with a lot of AI image generation, it all comes down to trial and error and tweaking the settings as you go. So if I set this now to 0.5, which is in between the 0.3 where we didn't see much difference and the 0.8 where we saw a lot of difference, let's see what happens. So with the setting at 0.5, you can see that you're getting different details on the clothing, and you're getting more of these blonde highlights in the hair, but it hasn't changed the image all that much. So maybe if we put it as 0.6, 0.7, we may get the effect that we are after. So we're just going to hit generate one more time to see if this is the case. So you'll see with a setting of 0.7, we get even more changes to the image. So because we have the blonde, you'll see that the clothes are changing. They are becoming more blonde, as well as the hair becoming more blonde. So again, with this process, it's all about trial and error on how to manipulate the images. I will show you another method using some of the ControlNet models later in the video. So if you do want to skip ahead, feel free to do so and find the ControlNet settings where we go over the depth, the composition, and the Canny models. They will show more of what is possible here, but this was a little introduction into how to use image to image within Supermachine, and we will go over how you can also use image to image using Canvas in the next section of this video. Another way to create images with Supermachine is through the canvas. The canvas is a great way to manipulate images but use the same technology as the image-to-image generator. To get to the canvas, simply click canvas in the top menu. Here you will see a box and you will be able to draw if you would like to draw, or you can put an existing image across. What I'm going to do is show you how that works with putting an existing image across. So first of all, go down to advanced settings, and if I want to change the size of the canvas, I can do so by simply selecting a different image ratio. You'll see that it's gone from square to now this portrait size. Then I can scroll down and find an existing image that I want to add to the canvas. When I hover over any of these images, you'll see that there is this canvas button. By clicking the canvas button, what it's going to do is it's going to copy that image and it's going to pull it across to the canvas. And then if I want to change the image, I can then draw on top of it. What I'm going to do for this example is I'm just going to take out the body of the image. I'm not going to be too exact with this, and we'll just make sure that this body disappears. And then I'm going to write a new prompt. So I'm going to put photo of a Nigerian female wearing a snow jacket, full portrait, professional photography, masterpiece, stunning. So you'll notice that I've just added the tags like we've gone over previously in terms of how to get better quality images out. Once I've added my prompt, I'm then going to go into the advanced settings to see if I want to change anything. What I'll do is I'll put the steps as 30 just to give the details that I want. The strength as 0.8 I think is fine. Outputs as 4, and we'll go for the sampler of DPM++ 2M Caras that we like to use. Everything else looks fine to me. So what we'll do is we'll now hit generate. You can see that from generating, we have our 4 output images. You'll notice, as we did within the canvas, where we pretty much just erased half of the image with this white space, that through the image-to-image process, some of these outputs have taken that more into effect than others. You'll see that this very much here has just deleted half the photo and put white at the bottom, whereas some of the other ones has put snow, which is quite creative, and the others we have our snow jacket in a close-up style here, and here again we have our character behind a snow mountain. So this is fairly interesting, and this is a way that you can use image-to-image generation by manipulating the images and drawing over them. There are other methods to create images using the ControlNet method, which we'll go over later in the video, but for now I just wanted to showcase how you can use the canvas to draw on an existing image and create changes to it. So let's get into some of the other methods that you can use within Supermachine in the next part of this video. Supermachine has various tools that you can use within it. To get to any of these tools, all you need to do is select tools from the top menu. Here you will see the list of tools on the left sidebar. At the moment you can use a remove background tool, a Faceswap tool, an image to prompt tool, and an upscale tool. If you want to use the remove background tool, all you have to do is click it from the left sidebar, select an image to remove the background of, and choose that image. You can choose from existing albums, or you can upload an image directly. Once you have selected your image, simply click the yellow button and it will start working on removing the background of that image. Here you can see the image with the background removed. Removing background from images can be really useful for graphic design purposes if you have a website and you have specific sections where you want images with a removed background not to interfere with the existing background of the website. So I would be able to then download this image and use it for my needs. The next demonstration I want to show is for the Faceswap feature. So to use this feature, I need to select Faceswap from the menu. I'm then going to choose my face image. I am then going to choose my initial image, which is an older image of myself. And what I'm expecting to happen is my face is going to turn Asian as this portrait of a Japanese man becomes the image of my face. So if I hit swap, I will wait for the image to then generate. And we have our output of myself looking like this Japanese male, which is quite funny to see. But you'll see the changes from my face to this Japanese male's face. So the Faceswap tool can be really useful for when you just want to change the face of an image. It's super fun to play with, and you can get some quite funny outputs by using it. The next tool I want to show is the image to prompt tool, where I can simply take an image. Let's take the one of our Japanese male, and we can say use this image. And what's going to happen is when we hit convert to prompt, it's going to give us something that we could then feed back into an AI image generator to generate such an image in the future. So we've got a man sitting at a table with a plate of food in front of him and a fork in his hand. And then we have some tags of different Japanese artists which can be used. So this can be useful for when we just want to copy this prompt and generate more images like it. The final tool that we have is the upscale tool. So if I want to upscale an image, say our original Japanese image portrait, then I can do so by putting that image here, and I can choose the different upscalers. So we have our ESR GAN 4X plus, or we have an anime version to generate the image, and we can choose the different sizing of the upscale. The higher this is set to, the more large the image is going to be. And we can toggle whether we want to use a face enhance tool on this or not. And by hitting the upscale, it's then going to download that upscaled version to our computer. So these are the different tools that you can use within Supermachine. Going back to our text to image generation, there is an advanced setting that we haven't talked about, which is tiling. When you put tiling on, what will happen is the image that is produced will be able to put in a grid. And if you take that image and put one above it, below it, right side, left side, it will tile, and you'll be able to create a bigger images of just blocks of these images for as many as you need. So think of it like wallpaper. You can give a prompt to generate these images. So what I'm going to put is I'm going to put floral wallpaper, going to put the style of an artist, one which I know, William Morris, and I'm going to put symmetrical, stunning, colorful. So I'm just going to put a bunch of different tag words in there. And then based on this, all I need to do is hit generate, and it's going to give me these outputs with this tiling as on. These will be symmetrical images that I can use in this grid format. So you'll see by doing this generation with the tiling set as on, I've got these 4 outputs that I can use. Again, if I was to put these into a grid, they would be symmetrical, and you'd be able to create a much bigger image based on these patterns. I know that a lot of people are selling different patterns on tools like Etsy, etc., etc. So this can be great if you are looking to create an extra stream of income and you have a specific prompt for something that is in need. You'd be able to create these patterns and you'd be able to provide them to your clients, to others to buy on sites like Etsy. It can be a really interesting thing to do. So this is how you can use AI image generation to create these sorts of styles and these settings using simply one setting and putting tiling as on. It's really that simple. One of the next settings that I want to go over is the LoRa settings, because LoRas are ways that you can really transform your images and add specific details which AI might find hard without using a LoRa. So if I was to generate a few images now of a Japanese 30-year-old male with short dark hair smiling at the camera in casual clothing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep most of the settings pretty standard here, and I'm just going to generate some of these so we can see images that are generated without using a LoRa. Okay, great. So we have our 4 images of a Japanese male. You'll notice that we have the 4 images of the person smiling, but we don't have really anything which, resembles different weights or different emotions based on this. So we can add that with a LoRa and go into much more detail. So with what we already have, if I select LoRa models from the top here, I can then say, okay, let's now change one to use a weight slider. So this is now going to change our character based on the value that we put in here. So when you use a LoRa, you'll see that it comes in these brackets, and what is important is the number value that we have. So the number value is set as free. Let's hit generate and see what happens. So you'll see by having the LoRa weight slider set as free, we get rather overweight people within our generations. So instead of what we had without using the LoRa, where we got our Japanese man who looks fit and healthy and everything looks great, we now have, by using a weight slider of free, a rather obese Japanese person each time. So if I was to take the value, which is free, and change it to say -2 and hit generate again, let's see what happens. Okay, so you can see our smiling Japanese man has got a lot skinnier, and you'll see from where we didn't use a LoRa and the person looks pretty healthy, pretty active, pretty fit, to going to when we have used it to with a value of 3, where they have become overweight, obese, and not very healthy, to then using a value of -2, where you'd say that they are probably skinnier than usual, definitely skinnier than we had seen before. So this is just one example of a LoRa that we can use. If we open up the setting again, and we can use, say, a hair length slider, because this one can be quite fun to show as well. And I will just delete some of the extra commas that we had in there, and we can just hit generate on this and see what happens. I imagine that we're going to have long hair because the hair slider is very, very long. And you can see how the LoRa has affected this image. Because the hair slider is set as a high value, which is 8, you'll see that the image has created extra long hair down to sort of the belly button, the definitely longer hair than most people have, and definitely longer than the AI would produce on its own. So this is something where a LoRa can really come into handy in producing such images. If you want to know more details about a specific LoRa, you can open a model in, you can open the LoRa in the gallery, and you're going to get specific information about it. So here you'll see want your models to have bigger eyes, you can do this with this slider. Using a value of 8 will make big-eyed images. Using a value of -8 will make smaller images. So one thing to keep in mind when using LORAs within Supermachine, there is generally a range of values going from a negative value to a positive value, and each LORA will work slightly differently. So it's worth opening up this page for each individual LORA that you are considering to use to understand how those values are within the generation. And if you want to then look through images that have been generated, you can simply click on them and you can see that what has been used. So you'll see that this one has got an eye size of 8, and you'll see that his eyes are rather large. Whereas if we were to come down to a different image where we have this one as -3, you can see that his eyes are smaller. So it's again about experimenting and trial and error and choosing different values to get the look exactly as you want it to be. And this is how a lot of AI image generation works. So if you want to use LORAs within Supermachine, try them out, have fun, and try out different values, and you can see how they affect your images. Another method for generating characters and images within Supermachine that is fairly unique is using our consistent characters. Consistent characters are characters that we have trained in-house using a very specific method which will give you consistency across the generations. When you use a consistent character, it will add a specific phrase to your prompt, which is important and needs to be kept in your prompt for the consistent character to generate each time. Let's have a look at how you can use consistent characters within Supermachine. So from the dashboard, we have consistent characters on the right side under the prompt guide. All I have to do is come in, choose the one that I want, and if I want to know more information about a specific character, I can simply click the information toggle here. But because for this demo I know I want to use Ananya, all I'm going to do is click on Ananya here, and you'll see that it's added Ananya to our prompt. So from here I can then give details of the image that I want. So at a coffee shop, smiling, happy, stunning photography. And from this I can go down, I can see the different advanced settings that I want to use. I want this to be pretty much like this. This is sort of my standard sort of settings, and I can hit generate here. Okay, so you can see the images that are generated. We have the same character in all of these images, and it knows that from this tag within the image. You'll notice that the images are not perfect every time. It's just something that can happen with AI image generation, like this one on the end has really messed up on the hand generation there. But we can fix this by going in and obviously generating more and then choosing the best of the ones which are generated. But you'll see we have our character in this coffee shop setting, and if we want to change the coffee shop setting to a different setting, we can do so. So we could say wearing a bikini and shawl at the beach, stunning, sunshine, sunset, golden hour, lighting. So we've just provided some tags there to get our image now of Ananya at the beach wearing a bikini and a shawl as the sunset comes in, and we've gone for a specific style of lighting. So let's see what these images look like when they generate. Okay, so we've got these beautiful images as the sunset is coming down on our character, and these are awesome. We could use these for whatever purpose that we need to use them for. If we wanted to change up our character, we can simply come to our consistent character menu. We can search through, find the one that we like, we can select the model, and you'll see that it's added a photo of the character to the end of the prompt. We would just copy the tag, and then we could add it to the front of the prompt to then get our character wearing a bikini and shawl and whatever we want in whatever style we want. And that is really what makes Supermachine great with these consistent characters. You can try them out for yourself, and you can use any of these consistent characters in any way that you want. I think one important thing to note with this is they work great across different models. So we could have, for example, the consistent character within, let's say, Supermachine Anime, and if we said that we want most of the settings to remain the same, but we are obviously using an anime model here, I'm expecting to get an anime output. So whereas we've trained it to be photorealistic, if you use a specific photorealistic model like we use Supermachine Reality, by using an anime model like Supermachine Anime, we are expecting to get more of an anime look when doing the image generation. And you'll see here we've got these 4 awesome images out. So this is just a brief overview of consistent characters and how they can be used in Supermachine to really level up your image generation needs. Let's take a look at ControlNet now. And the first ControlNet model I want to look at is the Canny model. The Canny model works by sort of keeping the same composition as the image. It's going to keep the hair the same, it's going to keep everything the same, but it might change certain things in the background, or it might change the lighting. It can be really useful if you want to keep an image pretty much the same, but turn it into an anime image or change certain things in the background. To use ControlNet in Supermachine, we want to go down to the advanced settings. So we need to show the advanced settings. We need to toggle ControlNet on, and Canny is the first one that we can choose. We can then upload an image. You'll see for this example, I have this Japanese man. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a image, but I'm going to say turn this man into an English man, for example. So I'm going to say a photo of an English man with blonde hair. I'm going to check my settings, which I always do. Just an important step to make sure that everything is correct as I want it. And then I'm going to hit generate on this. And you'll see that I'm using Supermachine Reality. So I'm expecting a photo realistic image of this person to come out when I hit generate. Let's wait for the generation to complete. And you'll see that we have our 4 images generated of the man. If we scroll up to our original image, you'll see that it's kept the hair exactly the same, even the odd strand of hair falling off. It's kept the face the same, and it's sort of everything is the same, but the background has changed slightly. So whatever is in the foreground of the image, it's going to keep the same, but it can change the lighting, it can change the background of the image. If we want to use the Canny model and use sort of an anime model instead of a photorealistic model, we can do so, and we can just make sure that our settings are correct. Let's just put the steps up to 30, the guidance down to 7, everything else the same. We are looking for a photo of an Englishman with blonde hair. This is our original reference image, and we're just going to hit generate on this again and see what comes out. I'm expecting to have pretty much the same image, just in an anime style. So let's wait and see what the image is as it generates. And here are our outputs. So again, we have the exact same composition of the original image, but it has changed some things in the background. And if we were to specify these things within the prompt, then we would have greater control over what it changes. So this is a really powerful model for taking an image that you may already have generated, or an image that you have created elsewhere, bringing it in to use as a reference image, and then creating completely new images based on it. This is the Canny ControlNet, and the next demonstration we're going to go over is looking at the reference model, which is also a ControlNet type. The reference ControlNet is incredibly powerful. what it does is it will take the reference image and that will impact the output image based on what you provide. If you provide a picture of a person, then it will generally produce an image with that person in it, but the resemblance may not be exact. So if you are going for really realistic consistency, then you're not going to get that. But say, for example, you put a Japanese male like I have done so here, you should get a Japanese male when you get the output image. And what I really like about using the reference model is you don't have to specify or go into much detail on the person that you want to generate, because we've already done that with the image. So by just providing this image here and by choosing the reference type and choosing the method as the reference only and the balanced option, I can just put a photo of a man at a bar, and I can hit generate on this and I can see what my output is going to be. Now I'm expecting to have an Asian man at a bar as my output, and I'm also thinking because the person has a blue jacket on, it might also reference that in the output. So we may have a blue jacket and we should have an Asian person. Let's hope we get that with the output from this ControlNet. So you'll see from these outputs that we were pretty bang on here, but you can see that it's definitely not exactly the same person as our reference image. But we've got our Asian individual in a bar, and we have the blue shirt showing in 2 of the 4 images. So this is quite fun. It's quite good to play with, and it's good to sort of trial and error and see how things are going with this generation. One other thing that I want to show with this ControlNet type is if we put, say, a item of clothing in. So you'll see here I have uploaded an image of a red dress. So if I was to change my prompt to, say, a photo of a Spanish female wearing a dress, and I'm deliberately being vague in my description of the dress. I'm not saying what style it is, etc. I'm just sort of saying it's a dress. And we can hit generate here. So you can see that we have the image outputs of our Spanish female wearing a dress. Whilst it isn't exactly the same dress, it's got the color red on it, and it's got some details in it. So again, experimenting with this model can give you some awesome results. Just to go over some of the specific settings on this reference model, because there are a few. There is the control mode where you can choose between balance, prompt, and control. This basically means if you choose prompt, then it will put more weighting towards what the input prompt is rather than the image, whereas if you put control, it will put more weighting towards the reference image compared to the prompt, and balance sort of gives equal weighting to the two. And then the method, there is the reference only method, there is the reference Adain method, and the reference Adain attention. These are all just different ways of coming to the AI image generation output. You can experiment and try out the different ways of doing this, but generally 90% of the time I find myself using the reference only method. But of course we want to give you all the controls possible, so there are the other methods there if you want to experiment with them. This is just sort of a brief overview of the reference ControlNet model. Feel free to play with it and try it out for yourself. It's pretty fun, and it can give you some really awesome results with minimal effort required. The OpenPose ControlNet is a really popular model to use. It lets you put your characters into a specific pose, and because you can define the pose, you can get things like fingers, limbs, etc. correct with AI, which it sometimes can have troubles with. Within Supermachine, we have the OpenPose under our ControlNet types. We have a bunch of preset poses that you can use, or you can simply toggle this off if you want to upload your own. For this demonstration, I'm just going to use some of the presets and give you a bit of an idea of how to get the best out of them. So you'll see here we have this sitting pose of a male. I'm going to use this one, so I'm going to click on that, and I need to put in a prompt. So I'm just going to say an English male sitting at a table in a bar comfortably and smiling. So one thing that I think is important when using the OpenPose models is, even though you have the image reference saying what the person should look like within the ControlNet output, it's also worthwhile sort of re-emphasizing this within the prompt. So if they are sitting down in a certain way, you should say this. If they are standing in a certain way, you should say this in the prompt. It helps just to get a better output and get better quality. So by doing this, I have everything that I need. I'm just going to hit generate, and then we can see what happens. And there we have it. We have our 4 outputs. This was our original sitting pose input, and these are our outputs. So you can see why OpenPose is a popular model, because it helps to really get a character in a specific pose, which is a lot more powerful than anything that came before it. So that was a male example. Let's just do a female example, and let's choose our flirty pose, and let's just say a Thai female at the beach, sunset view, posing for a photo in a yellow bikini. And we'll just put golden hour lighting because it's a nice touch. And we can just put generate on this, and we can wait and see what happens. And remember, this is our flirty pose reference, so I'm expecting to get an output which looks similar to this pose of somebody posing at the beach in a bikini in this specific style. And there we have it. Those are pretty good outputs. We have the yellow bikini, we have the golden hour lighting, everything looks perfect, beautiful outputs, and another example of how OpenPose can be used within your generations. The OpenPose model is really powerful, something that you should definitely play with. One of the things that it does when you either upload an image or put an existing image in, it will map out the pose of the individual of that reference image. It will also look at the fingers, so it will make a map of the fingers, which lets us do things like this thumbs up friend pose. And it also maps out the facial features. So if the person has a big smile, it will map out a big smile. So it's a pretty good model, but it can also trip up in some difficult sort of poses, like this from behind pose. If you don't articulate what the pose looks like within the prompt, then this one can often see some issues with the output generation. So that's something just to bear in mind. It can be powerful, but for more tricky poses which aren't obvious, it can have more trouble. So use it well, and just sort of bear in mind that it's worth articulating the pose in the prompt as well as sort of just choosing the image. And by doing this, you will have success using OpenPose. Next up is a look at the depth ControlNet model. Now, the depth model and the OpenPose model often get sort of intertwined and interlinked, and it's very easy to not really know the difference between OpenPose and depth. OpenPose will take the pose and it will produce a new image based on that pose. The depth will pretty much draw out the existing the existing image. It will look at that image and it will recreate it exactly the same. So hairstyles will be the same. The body composition will be the same. So if it's a athletic model, you're going to get an athletic model out, etc., etc. So depth is a little more unforgiving in terms of producing a new image whereas OpenPose can change more specific styles from that image. So if we come down to the ControlNet panel within Supermachine, you'll see that we have depth here, and we can hover over it to get a brief overview of what it's all about. And we're just going to use this from behind preset for the depth model. So from here, we will say a photo of a Brazilian supermodel wearing a bikini, posing, looking over her shoulder at the camera. Dark brown hair. So we have chosen this from behind pose. We check our settings, everything looks good, and now we can hit generate, and hopefully we're going to get an awesome image out. But what you will notice is, because the preset image has this blonde hair like this, and you'll see it's curly, and you'll see that there's specific strands coming off in different directions, everything is going to be exactly the same within this new image, and the body is going to look exactly the same. So there is no real variance here between these images. So you'll see we have the strings on the back of the bikini. They all look the same. The hair is kept the same across all of these images, and the output is looking the same. So depth is really powerful, and you can get some really awesome outputs with it, but just note the differences between the OpenPose and choose the right model for your needs. If you've obviously got a character and you've got them in you've got the AI to produce a similar sort of character through your prompt, and you know exactly the skin tone and everything that you want, then using depth can give you a really awesome output, and it's going to give you consistency across the hair, etc. each time. So this is a brief overview into the depth model and how it sort of how it varies from the OpenPose, but also how it can be super useful for you when generating with AI. Next up in our ControlNet models is SuperClone. SuperClone is a really awesome model because it will help you to create character consistency from one image. All you need to do is come down to the ControlNet panel, select SuperClone, and you'll see that we have a couple of presets here, or you can toggle the presets off if you want to put in your own reference image. For this example, I'm just going to use the preset of our character, which we have called Marcus. And by selecting Marcus, I can then put in a prompt. And like we did before when we went over the reference model, because we already have the character within our presets, because we have it within the image, we don't need to be super descriptive within the prompt as well. If we want to provide a thorough description within the prompt, then it's not going to do us any harm, but it's not needed to. So for example, I'm just going to put photo of a man in the gym, and I'm deliberately being vague because I want to show you how this output of a character like Marcus looks with only providing no descriptions within the prompt. So now we have all of this set up. We're just going to hit generate, and we're going to see what happens when the image comes out. Okay, so you see our original image of Marcus here, and then you can see our output images of Marcus here. So you see that it's kept the same face, it's kept the same style, and if we provided more details about, you know, a specific pose, etc., then we would get even better outputs. But I think it's really awesome that we've got this from a single image. It's got the hair the same, it's got the eyes the same, it's got the face structure the same. So this is something that's really powerful if you are building out a comic book or a specific fashion brand and you want the same character across all of your different generations. Then by using the SuperClone feature, this will enable you to do that with minimal effort. And again, if you want to provide more details within the prompt to re-emphasize what the character should look like, then this is possible to do and will give you even better outputs. The final ControlNet model that I want to go over today in this demonstration is the composition model. To get to the composition model, we need to go to Supermachine, we need to toggle ControlNet on under the advanced settings, and then we can select composition. You may be wondering what composition does. Well, if you hover over it, it will give you some information. Composition is designed to inject the general composition of an image into the model whilst mostly ignoring the style and content. This means that if you have a picture of a person waving, then by generating a new image, you will have a completely different person waving. And I really love this model actually. I think it's one of the best ones that you can use. What we can do is we're just going to use the preset of this night city, and we're just going to say an English female walking down the high street of shops. And we provided no real details, but you'll see that this original reference image is an anime image of an Asian looking woman. But we want an English female in this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit generate on this, and we're going to see what happens. And here are our outputs. So you see that we have this as our original image, and we have our outputs of a completely different person walking down the street. The background is different based on the description that we gave it within the prompt, and we've got some really awesome outputs. You'll notice though that it has kept some of the same style as the original image, such as this sort of skirt. You'll see that there is a skirt in all of these and it's showing the legs, which is the same. But apart from that, it hasn't been as strict as, say, a depth or an OpenPose, whereas the hands are like this. They are different positions. The face is different. You know, it's not as strict as the other ControlNet models, and it gives a bit of variance with the output. And I think this is really awesome and gives you a lot of flexibility when you are creating images. So this is why, you know, composition for me is one of the best ControlNet types. It's one of the ones that we've added most recently, and I may be biased, but it's probably one of my favorites as well. So you can create some really awesome images or with it within Supermachine. So try it out for yourself today. You can use any of the presets that we have, or you can toggle the presets off and upload your own reference images. So during this product walkthrough, I've gone through a lot of the image generation capabilities, but I just wanted to go over some of the ways that you can keep your Supermachine account clean and organized. So first of all, you see that we have all of your latest outputs on this first page. If I want to see all of my images, I will click up in the albums tab, and it's going to load all of the albums and all of the images that I have created. And I can see all of these from one useful view. But again, if I want to delete or edit any of these images from the initial output tab, I can do so. So by hovering over any of the images, you'll see that a bunch of different icons appear. There is an icon to delete an individual image. There is an icon to upscale an individual image. There is an icon to push any of these images directly to a canvas. There is an icon to clone this image, which will take the prompt and all of the settings and put them into Supermachine so you can generate more images like this one. Or there is a download button if you want to download the specific image. Now, we know that there are times where you may want to bulk edit or bulk delete specific images, and you can do that through each of the batch settings here. So you see here, again, if I want to clone the generation from anything in this batch, I can do so. If I want to delete all of these images from a batch, I simply click here and I hit delete, and they are gone. They are deleted from my account. If I want to push all of the images from a specific batch to an album, I can simply click here, choose the album, and push these images directly to that album. And if I want to download all of the images from a batch at the same time, I can hit download here. Now, for more control and to have more freedom to do what you want with your images, we have this useful setting here, which is select images. And if I select these images, you'll notice that we have this little tick box in the corner. And by doing this, I can then click through as many images as I want, and I can choose to bulk delete those images. And you'll see that that's just deleted those 2 batches at the same time, which is pretty cool. Likewise, if I want to take multiple images from different batches and move them to a specific album, I can do that. Or if I want to download multiple images from specific batches, I can do that. So that's one way that you can play and bulk edit or bulk delete your images. You can also do it from the album view. So if I want to go into a specific album, say Majestic Realism, it's going to show me all of the images which were in this album. If I want to select images from these, I can click individually, or I can select them all and then bulk delete or download or move them to where I want to move them. So this gives you quick control on which images should remain in your account and which images should be moved to different accounts. So if I want to delete all of these latest 50 images, all I have to do is hit delete and they are gone. And it's going to show me the other images from the account that we had before this. So it's very quick. It's very simple to organize your account, to keep things organized, and to delete images that you don't want. Once you hit delete, they are deleted from our server. They're deleted entirely. They don't stay anywhere. Another way that you can move images through your account is by hold clicking, and you can then choose to move it to a folder. So if I drag this up and push it to a folder, then you'll see that it disappears from the home and it would now appear in the Majestic Realism folder. Likewise, if I wanted to move something from a specific folder and take it back to the home, I can drag it and move it to the home and it would appear back in the home folder. So this is how you can sort of edit, modify, and keep your account clean, and it's super easy to do within Supermachine. One feature of Supermachine that I really enjoy and other users have told me they love to use is the prompt book feature. The prompt book feature has a bunch of predefined prompts that have been shown to be successful. When you select one of these, it will copy the prompt, it will copy the negative prompt, it will copy the guidance, the style, all of the settings that we used within Supermachine to generate that image. So by hitting generate, once you have copied a prompt, you are going to get an image which is similar, if not the same, as the image within the prompt book. So that's one side of the prompt book which is useful to you. The second side is actually adding your own creations to the prompt book. So you'll see that I have this awesome image of a cat sat on a mat, and I used this earlier in an example using AI to create the prompt for me to then make this image. If I want to add this image to the prompt book, all I have to do is click into it, and you'll see that there is this prompt icon here, which is a little plus icon, and I can hit click on this, and I can say cat on mat, and I can choose a category if I want to do this, and it's a photo category, and I can hit add to prompt book. Once I have done this, if I come in to the prompt book under the prompt guide and I go my prompts, you'll see that I have this cat on mat here, and I can click this and it will add and give me all of those settings within this within the generation panel. So if I want to then create this image again, I can hit generate and it's going to generate me more images of this cat on a mat. It's really that simple. And there we have our generations. So not only is it super easy to generate images with artificial intelligence with Supermachine, it's very simple to save your best creations, save your best prompts, and come back to them later and use them again and again and again. So we're all about making it simple to not only generate, but to reuse the prompts that you know work and the prompts that work awesomely for you. And the prompt book is a big part of that. So there we have it, a pretty comprehensive overview of everything that is possible within Supermachine. If there's something that we didn't show that you'd like to see within the product, please feel free to leave a comment below this video. We'd love to understand your feedback and see if we could add whatever you need. We want Supermachine to be one of the best AI image generators possible. We want to really empower everybody to create great images with artificial intelligence if they don't have the hardware to do it themselves. And we want to bring as much of the advances in open source AI image generation within the product to make it easy to use for everybody. I hope this has been useful to you. If you want to be kept up to date with what we're working on and what we're adding to the product, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It really helps us out, and you will get notifications whenever we upload a new video. Thank you.